Hi everyone, welcome back to another round of information for your Certificate 3 in Dance. Today we're looking at information to help you answer the knowledge paper, which is Assessment 1 for your competency of developed dance partnering technique. First off, we need to discuss the concept of trust. So when you're partnering someone, it's really important to make sure that you have built some trust. We've discussed the fact that if you're working with someone who you know really well, who you already have a relationship with, makes it much easier for you to build trust. But trust can be built up with someone new if you're working on the same level. And it really is just about starting with the basics and then working yourself up to a point where you feel confident in that person. Got a meme for you here. Love it, the giraffes. So, the old trust fall, it is a really good way of working out whether you can trust someone. But there they are, giraffes trying it again. You can develop trust in lots of different ways. I'm sure you've done it in your friendships as well, but for dance, there are some steps that you can take to develop your trust with your dance partner. The first one is to keep it simple and keep a buffer, which means that you keep some space in between you to make sure, that you're feeling confident and you start with the basics. The second one is to make sure that your partner's always safe. So, and that can happen through conversation. It can happen through just making sure that you've got your hands in the right place. And it also happens by making sure that you're not taking gigantic step forwards and trying things that are too difficult for you. So you're starting at a beginner level and then building yourself up. 3 is to make sure there's a thing called frame versus force. So your frame is your stance and how you're standing and how you're pulled up. And then you're making sure that you have that solid basic frame of your body rather than just being a forceful person and lifting or pushing someone around. Step 4 is to make sure that you are a gentle giant. So the person lifting, be kind, don't grab, don't squeeze, make sure that you're listening to your partner. So we're aiming not to hurt them by lifting someone. We're not digging our thumbs in. We're making sure we're cupping around their back. That you listen to them if their body's in an awkward position. If you're someone who's being lifted, you also need to listen to your partner. They need you to engage your muscles and be a little bit gentler with them as well. Step 5 is to make sure literally that you just care for them. How did that feel? So it's talking, it's asking questions, it's making sure that they're okay. And then step 6 is a good life lesson for anything. And before you accuse your partner of doing something wrong, actually maybe take a look at what you're doing first. So try and work out whether it's you who's making a mistake or whether it's your partner that could be doing something differently, and then have that conversation. Cute little meme, happiness is finding the perfect dance partner, and it might not be someone who you necessarily just assume it's going to be. It could be someone that you've just gotten to know. Matthew Lawrence is a professional dancer, and I really like what he's got to say here. So pas de deux on reflection, so a dance for 2 people, is a bit like a marriage. And a marriage, it takes patience, trust, respect. And he says he won't go on for the risk of my wife quoting this back to me one day. So I'll divert and summarise. If Jerry Springer is anything to go by, marriage does not always work. Aside from the technical difficulties, scary lifts, tricky grips and awkward coordinations that are incumbent within partnering, the real challenge of pas de deux sometimes is to simply get on with each other. But in the end, it's all worth it. And then Stephen Heathcote, who was a professional dancer with the Australian Ballet, he's quoted saying, "The greatest joy I've ever had from my career was partnering. There's something really special about creating an atmosphere, an emotion, a sense of occasion with 2 bodies. For me, it's always been the magic element of ballet." If you want some more information on that, I took that from the article the links just listed there below. It's really important when you're partnering to make sure that you're preventing injury. So any sort of dance injury can still happen with partnering, but we know when you're lifting a partner in the air and then putting them down from a height, you risk other injuries as well. So some preventative strategies are to simply talk to each other. You need to start with the basics first, so don't go trying anything too advanced, and build yourself up. Squeeze your partner rather than grab them and stick your fingers into them. Both partners need to do work. So I've given some of the class analogy before. Bag of potatoes, a 5 kilo bag of potatoes, you pick it up and you lift it and it feels like 5 kilos. It's heavy. The potatoes aren't helping you lift. You have to do it all yourself. But if you were to pick up an animal that was to weigh 5 kilos, often what they'll do is actually use their muscles to contract themselves, and it feels like you're probably holding 2 kilos, if that. And that's what needs to happen when you're partnering. So if the partner who's being lifted does nothing and is a sack of potatoes, the partner who's lifting finds it really, really hard. So the flyer needs to make sure that they're engaging their muscles and doing their fair share of the work. Another way to prevent injuries is to practice. So be determined and make sure that you're placing your bodies in exactly the right position, and it becomes muscle memory. And then you need to do some physical conditioning. So you both need, as I mentioned before, you both need to be strong. So you need to condition your body to build strength. Non-verbals are a really important way of communicating when you partner on stage. So you know when your partner is ready to do something or perform a trick, or maybe they're not in the right place and they need to be put down. So some non-verbals that you can use are simply eye contact, so you're looking at each other, sort of different forms of body contact. So you might be ready to go into a certain lift and you have a key point of contact. You could squeeze hands, and I notice in the Swan Lake Pas de Deux that I've got the link for below, when the female dancer is turning, she's squeezing his hand and it's letting him know how much pressure he needs to put in different places. Or if you can't squeeze hands, just pressure on different body points and body parts. Risk of injury for male dancers. I found this information from a source online. There's not a lot of research that's been done into injury in Pas de Deux, and this was the best information that I could find. So dancers are at risk for injury, likely due to demands that involve extremes in hip and lumbar spine range of motions and the repetitive practice of such motions. So that means dancers are at risk because they are using their hips a lot, lots of hip flexions, lots of rotation, and it's repetitive. Goes on to say that male dancers tend to have a greater number of dancing days lost due to injury and may be at greater risk of injury from techniques such as lifts with female or other male dancers. Research has shown that the yearly rate for a professional dance, the yearly injury rate for a professional dancer is 1 new injury per year, which is commonly in the lumbar spine, which is down like the lower part of your back, and can come in the form of muscle spasms, strains, and tears. It's hypothesized that male dancers have a higher risk of injury to the lumbar spine than female dancers because of the lifts that they perform in partnering. In addition, male dancers have been found to experience greater injury severity than female dancers as measured in days of dancing lost. So basically what this article is saying, that due to lifting and partnering, male dancers incur more injuries to their lower backs, often because they're not bending enough from their knees and not engaging in their core enough, and it's a repetitive practice, so that makes it really hard on the body as well. There's lots of differences in partnering work between contemporary and ballet. So for you to be able to answer this question in your response paper, you need to watch each of these clips and have a look at what the differences are. So you'll notice that in ballet it's very upright, in contemporary a lot more floor work. Yeah, I want you to come up with those answers yourself. How to be a great partner. This clip, this screenshot's taken from an unbelievable sort of acro duo that's on YouTube. It's amazing. They're great partners. They're both super strong. So just some bits, 5 little points on how to be a great partner. You have to have a solid technique, both of you. So it's really difficult for one person to have better technique than the other. You both need to be on a similar level. You both need core strength. So you can see straight away, like, this guy is just so strong in his core. And for her to be up that high and in that position, she's got a strong core working as well. You need to have good listening skills and communication skills. So you're able to talk to your partner, you take on board their feedback, you take on board their information. You need to have an open mind, so you're willing to try new things. And then you need to have that trust that we talked about much earlier. So mutual trust is really important. Warming up in partnering, it can be a little bit different to warming up for a normal class. So you need to gently raise your pulse, then make sure your joints are mobile, then you lengthen out your muscles and do some stretching. Do some strength and balance training, then have a stretch with your partner where you're testing that communication. Test your balance, then you can move into some basic counterbalances before you start getting into your real lifts. And then cooling down, similar to a normal dance class. So engage in that gentle movement, low intensity movements, but static stretching that you hold. Of your chest, arms, back, stomach and legs, and do that with some deep breathing. Then you need to make sure that you rehydrate your body and refuel with some healthy, nutritious food. Getting feedback is really important in partnering. So make sure that when you're talking with them, you're noting and you're really listening to what they have to say. So you're not just talking to your partner, you're listening to them as well. Other ways you can get feedback is to ask your teacher to watch you or your coach to watch and give you specific feedback, or you could film yourselves out and self-assess. Technology allows for you to do that. Grab your phone, grab your laptop, grab your iPad, film, watch, break it down with your partner and work out where you could improve. There are some common health concerns that come with partnering and dance in general. So we've talked about back pain just because of lifting. Ankle sprains can happen easily with high lifts. Hamstring injuries occur a lot in dance. Knee injuries, eating disorders can occur in the dance world. Because we're so worried about our body, especially female dancers. You get so worried about how heavy you are when someone's lifting you. It's not relevant. If you're both strong, you should be able to perform lifts with each other. And poor nutrition can also be a health risk or a health concern. That's all you should need for your knowledge paper for partnering techniques. Always remember to keep calm, your partner is strong, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Woohoo! Thank you, everybody.